This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Selling a little or a lot? Do your thing however you cha-ching with Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/offer23.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to Purpose-Driven Sobriety. Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm an alcoholic. And welcome to Purpose-Driven Sobriety. This is the first recording of this show, and I have my sister friend with me, Jennifer. Say hi, Jennifer.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jennifer. I'm a grateful alcoholic.
And we are. You know what the deal with this is? We pray that we are able to reach the person that is still suffering, the person that was us at one time.
Absolutely.
I want to give a quick history. This all has happened so quickly, just within the past 3 weeks. Jen, I don't know if you realize that. Several people had suggested that I do something like this, but it wasn't until Jennifer came into my office. We office in the same building. She came into my office, and I had been sharing about another person, and Jennifer said, you need an audience. Do you remember saying those words to me?
Yeah.
You need an audience. And that, for some reason, those words stuck with me. And so I went to social media and I said, I want to do this, and I don't have a clue how. And, to look back at the last 3 weeks now, what God has done. I mean, it's just been, oh my goodness, I basically said, okay, I'm willing, and which is pretty important, right, in our lives, because that willingness,
and open.
Yeah, right.
Open.
Exactly. So, it became a way with Rogue Media here and beautiful Mike that's helping us, and the name, Purpose-Driven Sobriety. Purpose-Driven Sobriety is recovery. Purpose-driven, being sober and recovery is two different things to me. I can't imagine just not drinking. So Purpose-Driven Sobriety, it's just a beautiful name. And then, the means and the people that have wanted to be involved, including yourself. And thank you for being here with me.
Hey, you're welcome.
I didn't, I'm a chicken, and I didn't want to do this first one by myself. And so, but my goal for this first meeting here, this first conversation, I've said I feel uncomfortable calling it a show. It's just a conversation. This is just, today marks 11 years for me to be sober. Literally today.
Whoa, happy birthday.
Thank you. March 14th,
So
2012. And so my goal for this conversation is for the people that are going to be listening in the future to this podcast, for them to know a little bit about me, because I'll be welcoming yourself. You're coming on soon, okay. So y'all be listening for Jennifer to come on. But for me to qualify to know what I'm talking about, I'm a pro
qualify.
with this. Sister friend, I qualify. And so, a little bit about me. My husband and I have 5 kids. At the moment, we've got 6 grandbabies. We have a small mortgage company here in Central Texas. March 14, 2012, I just came from a recovery meeting, and I had arrived there early, and I arrived there about 15 minutes early so that I could just sit in that parking lot for a moment and just remember. And you know what? It's not hard. It's not hard at all to. And
Go right back to it, don't you?
You know what? In a second,
Yep.
Isn't it
It's
strange? Isn't it strange how
It's such a gift.
Yeah, it is. It is a gift. You know, I sat there and I looked at that parking space, and I just thought, you know, Jennifer had come. As I mentioned, we office in the same building, and Jen, you walked in this morning and you know, telling me happy birthday, and I'm so grateful for that, and gave me a sweet gift, and you know, I mentioned that at that moment, 11 years ago, I was planning to take my life. Yeah. I was done. You know, I was done. You know, you know, I had the, you know, the not great at all childhood. You know, there was sexual molestation involved, and you know, my dad was a raging alcoholic. It was just not a great thing, and that's not the reason I think, you know, you can't go, okay, well, that's the reason you drank. There's you know, a buffet of reasons why, come to find out, but so that was, you know, so growing up was a challenge in that family. And you know, I one of my kids had said to me at one point, you know, Mom, when did you know you were an alcoholic? And it's like, well, golly,
wow,
what is kind of birth, yeah. Right? I mean, when you look back, because I still, even 11 years later, I still have those some of the tendencies, right? Yes, the some of the symptoms, and praise God, I have a program of recovery that I can work to do life without wanting to kill not only myself but someone else.
We were just ticking time bombs.
Yeah, right. And so in my drinking career started, I mean, when I was, I believe I was 11 at a skating rink, I always looked a lot older than what I was. And some older kids were there, and they had that apple country quencher. Do you remember that that air quote wine? And they had given me some and gave me more, and they ended up depositing me on my front steps at my house, right? And I remember the fallback with the parents, but I remember even then thinking to myself, I didn't know what it was, but looking back, I thought, how hypocritical that you're on to me when you know, I had my mom picking my dad up out of the median of I-35 at one point in time, and you know, it just it was kind of off to the races, and so alcohol was a thing, you know, not all the time, but on occasion. But when it was bad, it was really super bad. Because I didn't drink just to you know, get a good feeling. I drank to oblivion, even at that young age. Yep. But as an adult, you know, I got pregnant at 18 and had my first child, and that was a terrible relationship, and I didn't know how to have a relationship, you know. So I ended up getting remarried and having 2 more children, and that marriage ended. And during that time, I drank kind of regularly. You know, I was a classy drinker. I would have a
oh yeah,
a box of wine would last me.
You had to have the perfect glasses
right,
to go
right,
with
right.
the type of drink that
right.
you were
But
drinking.
it truly was. In looking back, it was kind of social to an extent, drinking, but more often than not, I would drink to oblivion.
Absolutely.
You know, but it wasn't impacting my life, and you know, and then I got a divorce. I was in my late 30s, I was in my early 30s when I got a divorce, and started on a career, and I was very responsible. I truly was. I was, you know, at that point a single mom of 3 kids, and I threw myself into my career as a mortgage loan officer, and I would drink on occasion, you know, but not very often. And again, when I did, though, it would be to oblivion. When I didn't have the kids, it would be blackout, you know. And then I got with my husband, my current husband, that's all we did was drink. You know, I went to work. I went to work with him, and that would just be what we did. I mean, I can remember him during a work day, and this was before he and I were involved. During a work day, you would hear down the hallway, "It's time to Jaeger down," and everybody would file up down the hallway to the freezer and take shots of Jaeger, and then go back to work. And of course,
Isn't
that was
great when you're in a career
Right.
that allows you to do
I know,
that.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Well,
like-
and that was 25, almost 24 years ago.
I
and
had
so-
that when I worked at Dr. Pepper 7-Up. I didn't have that when I became a teacher.
Right, yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, that would probably be frowned upon in the
Kinda.
school district. But of course, you never. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, there's a
That's-
lot of us.
Anyway, so we, and then with my husband Rick and I, and you'll hear me refer to Rick all the time. Rick is he's my spirit animal. He's a pretty cool guy, but that's all we did was drink. I mean, we after hours.
He's not even an alcoholic.
I know he's
That's
one of those
crazy. Normal
weirdos. Yeah,
people.
he's one of those weirdos that can stop. But it got to be to where I was drinking a lot. I mean, every day. Not to oblivion at first, but every single day there would be some drinking. And it just progressively got worse. I mean, and that's when I mentioned, my oldest son asking me, "When did you know you were an alcoholic?" And it's like, that's the scary part. That's the scary part, because we know that it's alcoholism, addiction, which alcoholism is an addiction. I am an addict, even though it's not drugs, and it really bothers me when people are, like I'm not an addict, I'm an alcoholic, and it's like, oh sweetheart, oh honey, yes,
we know your secret.
Same thing, yeah. Don't be that recovery snob, but anyway, that's the scary part, knowing that it's in my genes, because this gene pool is deep with this alcoholism.
Like, you're a double winner. I'm a triple winner.
Oh.
I love alcoholics. I can always find them.
Yes, and it's all the way back to, and I would love to know, how far alcoholism truly goes back in my family, but I can't imagine it just like doesn't stop. But so of my 3 biological children, I've told them, statistically, one of you's doomed. I mean, it's it doesn't have to be that way, but statistically, I'm just saying, if you're not careful, you need to be aware of your of your past, of your family history. Be aware of your mental state, because it's that one. I had a glass of tea in front of me the other day when another friend who was trying to learn about the program. She's got a sister that is one of us, but she asked me, "When did you know you were an alcoholic?" And we were having lunch here in town, and I had a glass of tea in front of me, and I said, she said, "So when did you know you were an alcoholic?" And I picked up my iced tea, and I took a sip, and I put it down. And I just looked at her, and she looked at me puzzled, and I said, "It was that simple. Something, I don't know what it was, I don't know when it was or how it was. Something activated that disease, and there was no turning back."
Right.
There was no turning back.
Even if you wanted to.
Even if I wanted to, even if I was aware, which... the drinking, God bless him, Rick, he has, I'm convinced, somewhere hidden the largest trophy for being the greatest enabler on the planet. And he almost loved me to death. Yeah. He would make excuses for me. He would, God bless him, he would buy it for me. I could manipulate that man I could manipulate him. And it was a full-time job trying to figure out how I was going to get it, when I was going to get it, if it could get him to pick it up. If I was too drunk that morning to go to work, how am I going to, I know I'm going to be out of it. How am I going to get him to bring some home? Or, I know I can't drive, which I did 100 million times. I drove that car. I mean, when I think about how often I drove, not only with my children in the car, right? But just how often I drove completely wasted, it makes me physically sick to my stomach.
Blackout.
Oh,
I remember
my gosh.
driving in a blackout.
Yes. Not remembering how you got home or where you're, waking up wondering who's mad at me. Where, thank goodness, usually I was at my house. I didn't have to worry about where I was. But it was just
We become masters of that game, don't we?
Yes.
We know how to work it and lie,
manipulate and lie, and yes. So it got to the point where I would get in trouble, with Rick would get upset with me, and so I would go a day or so.
The heat was on, so you had.
But he would get over it, and I could never go more than 2.5 or 3 days without drinking. I just couldn't. I would find a way to sweeten him up to where it's like I could get back. It was just a hamster wheel, is what it was. And there came a point in time where I was drinking so much that I recognized, okay, I need to slow it down. It was, one of those things. And so I had gone.
Did you feel an intervention coming on?
Well, no, not even at that point in time, because it was just, it's so bizarre when you're in it and you think nobody knows. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows. They.
Well, I had the advantage of my mother being a counselor and in recovery.
Oh yeah, that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. So
she had your number.
She would look at me, give me the look. So.
But you don't even. I found it offensive when they would mention my drinking. It's none of your business, first and foremost. It's my life, which now I see as just awful and so selfish and self-centered. And I didn't know how much it was affecting them. But it got to the point where I tried to stop on my own, and I was about almost to literally the 72-hour mark. And it was at nighttime, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. It was at nighttime, and Rick had already gone to bed, and I was on the couch in the living room, and I felt myself starting to have seizures. I mean, my body was moving uncontrollably. It scared the shit out of me.
Was this in the last year that you were drinking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And because I was drinking straight, I would never drink straight vodka. I would mix it with something, but I was drinking. I mean, towards the very end, it got upwards of 3/4 of a gallon of vodka a day. Yeah. But I could feel my body just start moving, and when I woke up, I was on the floor, and it was still the middle of the night, so I was by myself because Rick was in the bedroom. And he was to do an interview regarding the mortgage business here in Waco, Texas. And this was, again, 13, maybe 14 years ago, 13 years ago. Either way. So the next morning, I'm still, of course, I get on the intranet, right? And I Google what could cause, the shaking and stuff. So I had already diagnosed myself with all kinds
Can't be the alcohol.
of disease. Right. Yeah. Oh, that never even entered my mind. Right. I had multiple sclerosis. I had a brain tumor. Oh, girl, the size of the brain tumor. You can't imagine how big that brain tumor was. And so we got ready and drove in for that interview that Rick was going to be doing. And it was at our building, and so he's in another room with this journalist giving this interview regarding the state of real estate or whatever. And I'm in the office, and I'm pacing back and forth trying to figure out how I'm going to tell my husband that I'm sick.
You have a brain tumor.
How I'm going to tell him that I have a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And see, I can laugh at it now.
Right.
And God bless you. If you're listening to this and you and you are going through something similar, girl, guy, whoever you are, keep on listening, because I'm telling you, there's a solution. So he came into the office, and I'm frantic, wringing my hands, and I have something I have to tell. Girl, I could have gotten on the Hallmark show, but because I was so worried about how he was going to react to me being sick, And so I'm like, there's something really, really wrong with me. And he's like, tell me more. So I told him about the goings on of the night. I said my body started to move uncontrollably. Mm-hmm. And when I woke up, and he said, did you ever think that maybe it's a withdrawal from alcohol? I see. That's how I reacted too.
How dare he?
How stupid, dumbass.
That has nothing to do with having a brain tumor.
What a dumbass. Right. Don't you know a brain tumor when you see one? What is wrong with you? No, that's not it. And of course, I manipulated him in such a way that he picked up a bottle of wine on the way home to celebrate that maybe I didn't have a brain tumor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was that good. But that's kind of when the physical symptoms started, and it scared me bad enough. And he basically convinced me, you're not dying. You're okay. That's probably just your body getting rid of what alcohol was left. And little did we both know, okay, that alcohol is the only drug you can die from the withdrawal. Yeah. Meth, coke, crank, all of that shit. You want to die, but alcohol, you can die from the withdrawal. Yep. We did not know how dangerous it was, what I was doing, because quite frankly, I don't even think Rick knew how much I was drinking at that point in time. Because girl, I had it hidden. Ooh, I had it hidden so good half the time I couldn't find it. So I'd buy more. But so that kind of was the start of the physical consequences of me trying to stop. So there hence the hamster wheel. I can't stop because then my body tries to die. So I have to drink more. I have to continue to drink. It was just awful. I would wake up in the morning and my hands would shake so much I couldn't even hold a pen. Yeah. I couldn't hold a pen. That happened more times than not, where I couldn't walk from one room to the next without my body just having the most strange, but you get one drink in me, and I was normal.
Well, and at some point you were normal, because I used to office right a couple of doors down from you, and I would watch you go into your office, close the door, and I wouldn't see you except to come out and smoke a cigarette outside. And then you'd come back in, and then you'd close the door. Yep. I saw Rick way more, but
because I was secluding in there, and I would have the little bottles of alcohol hidden in my office, to where I could just get a couple of nips to just to get through the day, to where I could write. It was crazy. It was crazy. And so there was I can't remember what happened, and I had gone to the doctor. And of course, I didn't go to my regular doctor because, she's such a bitch. She had actually looked at me during that time. I had gone in for an ear. Too much? So I went in for an ear infection or something. It was just for a real, something was wrong. And she just looked at me and she said, "How much are you drinking?" And I was,
why do they do that?
I know, so rude. I was so offended, Jen. I was so offended. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm here for an ear infection. And she said, "Let me tell you something. You are." How did she put this? You are 5 years younger than I am, and you look like you're 20 years older than I am. Yeah. And I thought, well, fuck you. Yeah. So I swore I wasn't going to go back to her.
Yeah,
I didn't go back to her for a while. But I'd gone to another physician because I felt I was very nervous. So when I went to see him, I appeared, I'm sure because I was an actress, I could show you who you needed to see. You're a good actress.
I've seen you on stage before.
Right? I could be who you needed me to be, even for just a moment during that time. And he prescribed me Xanax, which is alcohol in a pill.
Yep.
No, if you're taking Xanax, no, it's not for your nerves. It's alcohol in a pill, period, hands down. And when you mix that with alcohol, it's not a great thing. Well, at the point of time, it was a great thing. But So Amy Winehouse died.
Oh.
And she died. Do you know how she died?
She died of an overdose.
Alcohol and Xanax.
And Xanax. Okay.
My daughter heard that news, and she had seen a bottle of Xanax at my house, and she knew how much I drank. And so she orchestrated an intervention, which, was just great. That was just fucking great. So awesome. And so, my 3 kids got together with my mom, and they informed me that I would be out of their lives if I did not go to treatment. So they along with Rick wasn't even involved in that because he was so done with me at that point in time that he's just like, I just can't handle that. And but he did pay for me to go down to Austin Recovery down south. And so in talking with them, my mom had to go buy those little 4-packs of wine that they could time and give me so that I didn't seize out to go down there because they said you could kill her if you don't do this properly. And so I went down to Austin Recovery, and I was the model patient. I don't think they called us patients. I think they called us clients or something. But I mean, girl. I had my binder, and I had my sticky notes, and I had my highlight. I had to have a highlighter. I had lots of cool pens, but my highlighters. I had to have a couple of highlighters because I was so organized.
Did you get a big book?
No.
Okay.
No, not during that time. They were 12-step based, but they only went as far as like 1 and 2 kind of, and then encourage you to go further when you got home. But I would go to all of the classes and I handed in all of my work, and I was there early, and I was sober. I looking back now, I can see where I didn't know what I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I what I mean by that is I truly thought, oh my gosh, I am sober for the first. Because they medically detoxed me. They had to rush me to the ER once because my blood pressure tanked out, and they're like, "You literally are gonna die if we don't take care of this." And so they medically detoxed me. That took, which usually should take about 3 days. That took a week for me before they could move me out of the detox area into general population. No, but it was a not a vacation. I didn't look at it that way, but I mean, I was sober. I did have a clear mind, and I thought that I had tackled it. I thought, done, one and done. I'm sober. I know, but you know what? Life. I remember though, Rick came down for a family visit, and it was me and him and the psychologist. And we were still rocky. He was still trying to figure out if Rick wanted to still deal with me, kind of thing. And I, quite frankly, I didn't have an opinion on the matter at the time. I was kind of focused. I was enjoying learning stuff about myself, but I still didn't think I was an alcoholic. I knew I had a drinking problem. I knew that alcohol had gotten me to where I was, but the term alcoholic, those people live under bridges.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
With a bag,
yeah. Right.
Drinking Mad Dog.
Yeah, there you have it, out of a paper bag. And so Rick had come down, and it's me, him, and the psychologist. And Jen, I'll never forget this. The psychologist said, or Rick said to the psychologist, "She's the strongest woman I've ever known in my life. Why does she not have the willpower to do this?" And I remember like a jolt, a friggin' lightning bolt hitting me, thinking, if that's what you think, if you think I'm doing this willingly, you have to go back home, pack up your stuff, move on with your life, and get out of my life, because that could not be further from the truth. I remember literally pouring vodka down my throat, crying because I didn't want to. Yeah. Look at that thing. I didn't want to.
Did you ever blame God at that point?
No, because I didn't know there was a God. I kind of thought there was a God, but I certainly wasn't going to pray because I didn't want him to know where I was, him or he or her, or she or that. But I wasn't raised. I wasn't raised in religion or church or.
Yeah.
I would say that church was for the people who dressed up on Sunday and went to the building with the T on top of it. I mean, it's no. There was no idea about any of that. What did God have to do with it? I was the one pouring alcohol down my throat, But I remember right then recognizing that I had been drinking against my will, that I didn't want to do that. I had to. So you might go, oh, so that's when you knew you were an alcoholic. Oh, no, wait, it gets better. No, it gets better. So there came an understanding that Rick saw, and I think he believed me when I said to him, I am not doing this of my free will, but I'm sober now, so everything's going to be rainbows, unicorns, and puppy dog toes. And so he picked me up down in Austin after 30 some odd days, and they made suggestions as I was leaving that when I got home to check out some recovery meetings. And do what they said. I needed to further my education and my recovery, which was silly because I wasn't drinking. I was sober.
Learned what you need to learn.
What's the point? I'm not stupid. I have my binder to refer back to with all my color coded things, and
Had you ever been indoctrinated or known about any kind of recovery?
Never.
Okay.
Never. No, because my dad quit drinking, a long
On his
time
own?
ago.
Did he quit on his own?
Cold turkey.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it showed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, knowing what I know now, my dad was a dry drunk my entire life. And if you don't know what a dry drunk is, we drink alcohol for a reason. We may not even know what that reason is, but you take, alcohol was my solution.
Elixir.
You take the solution away, and I'm just a fucking crazy person.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way to decorate that pretty. Sorry for the language. No, I'm not sorry for the language. That's a lie. You take the alcohol away, and I just want to eat a bullet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you feel like it kept you from killing yourself?
Or killing someone else. Yeah, it was air.
Yeah.
It was food. It
Right.
was, I needed it to survive,
Yeah.
So we come back to Waco and, I'm sober. And so I do go to a recovery meeting and I sit and I affectionately at this point, I call it the exit chair because it's the chair closest to the door.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Closest to the door so that when all you losers are done talking about your stupid shit, I can get the hell out of here and say that I've been there, But I remember going to that meeting and these people were talking about some really heavy shit. I mean, I had the car accident and then I flipped the car and was unconscious and then people were like, oh, ha, 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 laughing at the most strange stuff. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on here? Why? I am not, clearly you people are not we're not in a drinker like I was, but I conquered it down in Austin.
Sure.
But, so I didn't have a relation with them. We weren't on the same level,
Mm-mm.
So,
You had your highlighters and your notes.
I did my binder. I did. And I still have it today, by the way. But I remember it was a good 2 months. I rocked along that way. I would go to one of those meetings, once a week or so, I would grace you with my presence. And then I was in Walmart, okay? And I was in the beauty section with the travel size, the shampoos, the deodorants, the travel size that you could put in your travel bag.
Fun stuff.
And a conversation that I had a couple of years previous popped into my mind. And it was with a addiction doctor dude that was down in Temple that was talking to me. And he said, some people get so desperate that when they come in, they have been drinking mouthwash.
Mm.
And that conversation popped into my mind, and guess what popped into my basket?
Okay.
About 4 or 5 of those little bottles of Listerine. Now, so that was a thing, and because I actually shot one of them. I chugged it, just a little baby one, and in the parking lot,
Right.
when I got out to the car in the parking lot, and by the time I drove home, I was a little happy.
You were feeling good.
I was a little, I wasn't drunk or anything. I was just a little happy, And I thought, well,
You had bad
by
breath
gosh.
before, and now you don't.
yeah,
So yay.
right. And if one would do that, I had 4 more. And so, so that was the beginning of the next couple of months where I was drinking mouthwash. And I can remember Rick going, you got really fresh breath all the time. What's happening here? So he was catching on to me.
Mm.
And I remember my disdain and I was so offended that he would be pissed at me for something like that. It's like, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking. What is your problem? That's how sick that's how that disease had me.
Mental twists.
It had me convinced that what I was doing was not drinking alcohol. Although the alcohol content in Listerine is 29.6 or 7 or something like that.
high,
Look
yeah.
it up. Use Google as your friend. Look it up. I mean, it was. I was offended that he was upset with me because I wasn't drinking. So there came a day on March 13th, 2012, where my oldest son found me passed out in my car down the street from my house. So I had been driving with a empty Sam's size bottle of Listerine in my lap. And I had made a, air quote friend at the recovery meeting that I had been going to. And I had her phone number on my refrigerator. And so my son gets me home, and I barely remember anything about that. But apparently he had called that phone number and spoke with this lady, and she's like, you should have left her there and called the cops. I mean, that's, So I do remember him as he was leaving. He looked back at me and he said, Mom, is it bad that I wished that was a bottle of vodka? And my soul cried. I remember as I passed out, I remember that feeling of, oh my God.
Right.
And so I woke up on March 14th, 2012. And I just decided enough.
Would you say that's your moment of clarity?
Yes, to enough to the extent of I was going to take my life.
Yeah.
I was done. And I was talking to another friend about this the other day, and she said, everybody says suicide, is such a selfish thing. And it's like, I truly, and I'll go to my grave saying this, that in that moment, I genuinely thought I was planning to do what was best for my kids.
Sure.
Just to put me out of their misery. I was going to do what was best for them. And so I started to gather all of the many opioids and pills that I had around the house. And I had a ceramic bowl, and I was putting them in that bowl. And my phone rang. And it was that annoying woman that I had, and the woman I'm speaking of that I had met at the recovery meeting, and I got to tell you, in that very instant, she knew, with me just saying a few words, she knew what I was going to do. She knew,
Right.
and she said to me, I don't know what you're going to be doing the rest of the day, but will you give me an hour? Will you meet me at a meeting? And of course, I was, coming up with every excuse and reason, and she kept saying it over and over again. I don't know what you're doing the rest of the day, but what's an hour? What's 1 hour? Give me 1 hour. And finally, I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And I managed to put on some clothes, and at the time we were living about 15 minutes or so drive from in town, and I remember driving into town, and I was so distraught. I sounded like an animal. That's the only thing I can equate it to. I sounded like an animal. And that scared me, I think, more than anything. It's like because I'd never heard that sound come out of a human being.
Guttural, yeah.
And so I drive up to the parking lot, and I see her in her car, and I drive up beside her, and she motions for me to get in her passenger side. And so I can barely even move my body. I'm so broken. I was so broken.
Hopeless.
Yeah, I was. But a part of me had hope that it was because it was going to end that day.
Yeah. Something got you there.
And no, I had hope that it was going to end that day because I was going to take my life. That's the only hope I had driving into that parking lot. That's the only hope. And to shut her up, because after an hour,
right?
Just an hour.
Yeah.
So I get in her passenger's side, and she puts her hand on me, and she just says, I'm going to sit here until you can talk, because I was crying so hard I couldn't talk. And I just remember thinking, well, that's fucking weird. I mean, that's okay. It's so I was just in all my feels. And so she says to me, she said, I want you to ask God what he thinks about you. And I remember kind of looking over at her thinking, are you fucking crazy? Do you know what I've been doing? Do you know the person that I am? You're trying to punish me more? Whoever this God is, so I need to hear more of what a shit human being I am? No, thanks. And her voice became elevated. And she said, I want you to ask God what he thinks about you. And she said, close your eyes. And so I closed my eyes, and she said, no, out loud. And I did. I closed my eyes. And I was able to get those words out. God, what do you think about me? And instantly, I heard 3 words. You are worthy. And I was instantly calm. And I looked over at her, and you'd swear she saw a ghost.
Yeah.
Because she just looked at me, and she's like, what'd he say? And I said, I just heard you are worthy. Yeah. And she said, I would have to agree. Can we go up to the meeting now? And I didn't know, because like I said, I didn't have a point of reference of who, what, where, when, how, nature, he, she, it,
Right.
What had said those 3 words to me.
Yeah.
But I heard them just as clear as you can hear my voice right now. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to know what that was. Yeah. What was that? What did that mean to me? What did that mean? And so I went up to the meeting, and because I had a sobriety date, right? Yeah. Should have been in 2011, but I had a sobriety date, so I changed my date to March 14th, 2012. And that began a journey, a discovery, a life. I didn't want to die anymore. And it was, I don't know if I had an advantage of not having a conception of God, because now 11 years later, I can talk to people that are in the throes of addiction, and they have such resentments and anger towards
Oh yeah.
towards God, that they're so turned off to the idea, so I don't, I know now that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen. It just does. And I was at a meeting just before I came here to record this, and they were talking about having a spiritual experience as a result of doing certain things. Of course, leave it to me to do things backwards. I had a spiritual experience, and it's like, okay, what the fuck just happened? I need to know. I need to know what that was, who that was, what's it, what is that, And I can remember asking that same woman who is still in my life today, who do I pray to? I've heard there's a Jesus. I heard there's a God. I heard there's some kind of spirit floating around. Which one?
Yeah.
Which one do I? That's
Right.
how little I knew, about any of this, and it started a journey of trying to figure out who that was. So for her, unfortunately for her, for the first little bit of time, she became God to me, because I needed something with skin on it that I could see and talk to, and one of the most annoying things, and I know you're going to know about this because she's your person too.
Oh yeah.
When I would be in a freak out mode, and I would call her and I would go, blah, this is what's happening. And she's like, what did God say? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm calling you. You're supposed to be able to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why don't you ask God and then call me back and tell me what he said?
Yeah.
How annoying.
Tell me about it.
Just tell me what to do.
I
But
need the cheat sheet version.
right.
You talk to him all the
Cliff
time.
Notes.
Just tell me
That's
what
exactly
he said
right.
about
Yeah,
me.
You've got a direct line to, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what? So early on in my sobriety, because she didn't make me call her every day. Of course, I called her every day, a couple of times a day. But I would call in the morning, and I'm like, okay, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And she would be like, have you brushed your teeth?
She would tell me to get the vacuum cleaner out.
I see. With
like-
mine was dishes. Are there any dirty dishes in the sink?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah. She's like, okay, go
Like,
wash
how's
those.
That's going to keep me sober.
Right? Go wash those, and then call me when you're done.
Yeah.
But you know what? I didn't know how to do life. I
Yeah.
did not know how to be a human being species on this planet day in and day out
Without alcohol.
without alcohol.
I know. Yeah.
Someone would upset me. And of course, I say that. But I would drink when I was happy, when I was sad, when I was excited, when I was bored. I had any reason for me to drink.
I thought about.
Yeah.
That's all I thought about.
All I thought about. So it's like, what do I think about now?
Yeah. So when was that obsession removed for you?
Well, the obsession to drink was removed in an instant in that parking lot
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
heard I was worthy. I knew
Yeah.
I would never drink again. I knew it.
Right.
I didn't know why. I didn't know how. I didn't know anything else except I knew that to be. Now, trying to tell Rick that when I got home, he was like, "Oh, okay, we heard that before," But it was I knew.
Unbeliever.
Yeah, right. I knew something happened. I just didn't know what it was or how to
different.
explain it or define it or And I just learned this last year that she had never asked anyone else to do that exercise. That close your eyes and ask God what he thinks about you. She said, I'd never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I had never done that before. So, I look at my life now, and the discoveries that even 11 years later, because I get to work a program of recovery for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't have to. I get to go to a place, a room full of people just like me that know exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
And I have a room full of people, and I have a handful of people that I have given permission to call me on my shit.
Absolutely.
because I got a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right. I've given authority to some people to say to me, when I'm bitching about something or sharing about something, for someone to say to me, do you think maybe you're being a little selfish here? Or, have you thought about it this way? That
Or
it's
you're acting like a jealous girlfriend.
there you go. Okay, well, you don't have to go get personal. She and I had
Yeah.
this conversation this past weekend.
Isn't that what our relationships in recovery are now based on? It's honesty.
Can you imagine?
And here we've had people all our lives who were trying to be honest with us and tell us, what their concerns were and what they saw, and we
were just offended by it.
Yeah, offended.
Yeah, because they didn't. That's very interesting that you say that, because you're right. It's like It's now. If Rick, even today, 11 years later, was to look at me and go, do you think you're being a little selfish here? I would claw his eyes out and feed them to the neighbor's dog. Okay, make no mistake about it. I would, no, honey, you're not the one. You're not the one that's allowed to say that to me. Now, you can call my lady and tell on me, and she'll tell me that, but, you're not, you have to, like you, Jennifer, and a couple of other ladies have earned the right to be honest with me.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the truth. A lot of times, man,
it hurts.
I don't like the truth. Yeah. It always hurts, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The relief that I get going into a meeting and just talking and sharing and listening to other people's problems, to know that I'm not the only one that feels a certain way. It's beautiful the way that it works. And I'm so grateful for that, and so when especially when you came to me and said, you really need to consider this podcast thing, that's where I'm like, I have no shame being an alcoholic. There is a meeting, we live in Waco, Texas. There is a meeting here that it's a bunch of business women that we meet once a month. And there's at least 100 women, all walks of life, all businesses, all, we meet at a swanky restaurant here, fancy. And we go around, each of us, and give a little commercial about our business, 30 seconds or so, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, this is my name, this is my business, and what have you. And I remember the first time, I've been a member of that group for about probably 3 years now. And the first time I stood up, and I of course now I know it's to me it was divine, but I stood up and I said, "Hi, I'm Christina. I'm an alcoholic," and the room busted out in laughter.
Yeah.
And when I just kind of stood there, kind of looking at them, they're like, "Oh shit," she's like, "For real," and so it was funny because something changed.
Yeah.
It's like they recognized honesty. And I'm like, I'm not sure why I just said that, but yeah, I'm an alcoholic, and we have a mortgage company, the Cohen Mortgage Group, and if you need a loan, give us a call. But the relationships and the conversations that have come from me doing that. And so subsequently every single month since then, I've introduced myself. Hi, I'm Christine. And this, as a matter of fact, this last one was this past Friday. And I stood up and I said, hi, I'm Christine, and and the whole room, Jennifer, the whole room said, an alcoholic.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, yes, you're my people.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, hi, Christine. And so, it's become.
But you brought in a lot of people that way. Like they know you to be open, and you treasure your sobriety. People know that about you, Christine.
I do.
And so, and you've brought people to our little group on Saturdays, to that we're trying to figure it out, or maybe they were hurting so bad, and They
The
need to
shame, the shame will
just-
keep you.
yeah.
The shame will
and the
keep you from moving
secrets,
forward.
the secrets for
Well, but even
hiding it.
right, even which we say secrets make you sick. I don't care if you're an alcoholic or not. Secrets make you sick.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
what's going to be beautiful about this podcast is whether you're an alcoholic addict or not, you still are screwed up. I can assure you, you are still screwed up. You are screwed in your head, and because we carry this treasure chest of masks around with us. We have to be this way with this person. Oh, we're going here. Oh, we're going to be here. We got to be, oh gosh, it just becomes exhausting. And we wonder why we have anger and anxiety and resentments and ulcers and the illnesses that we have. So honesty, is the one thing that, but in that women's group that I was talking about, the people that have reached out afterwards, like have messaged me or have found my phone number and sent me a text message or something and said, hey, can I talk to you? My mom is going through this. Or most recently, my sister, we don't know what we're going to do with her. Or I'm drinking a lot and I don't know if I have a problem. Or, what I have found, because if you're around me, and sometimes, and it's not, but I think at first, to my husband's chagrin, it was, if you're around me within a few minutes, not that I'm purposely thinking, how can I work this into the conversation? But I end up saying something along the lines of being an alcoholic, and I don't care who you are. But the beautiful thing that I've found is that when I show my guts, when I show what you think, what normal air quote people think is the worst thing, when I show you that to me it's my best thing, when I show you that I'm not afraid to be exactly who I am, something magical happens with that other person. Because they all of a sudden see that they can be who they are with me, and I see now that when I do that, maybe it's a protective measure, because when I show you who I am, when I tell you what's supposed to be the worst thing about me, I'm not afraid of you anymore.
Right.
You can't have
Use
something
it
on me.
against-
You
yeah.
can't. Yeah, right. You
Use
can't
it
beat me up
against
with
me.
it. You can't shame me with it when I'm like, yeah, that's what I am. Then we can move aside all the bullshit and be who we are with
Real.
one another. It's just a beautiful thing, that honesty thing. It's such a rare treasure. It really is a rare treasure.
That's why I wanted you to do this, because I felt like, you post a lot on Facebook. We're friends for a long time, and I read your memes and prayers and daily readings, but it doesn't really adequately capture you, and I think your genuineness, your authenticity, your integrity comes through
Thank you for that.
when you're talking. And you remind me all the time to just be myself, and I have to, you're a good example for that.
Thank you for that. Well, this is, it's going to be fun to see what happens with this, and I'm grateful to Rogue Media Network, and Mike Hamilton, for stepping up and going, hey kid, come this way, don't do this, you don't, kind of guiding me gently. But I've got people lined up that are willing to come and share their experience, strength, and hope.
So
With a
amazing
person
and
who is still
exciting.
suffering. I know, right? Can you, if we can reach one person to just say, you're not alone.
Right.
This is not your fault. You're responsible. This is not your fault. And there is a solution. There is hope. There is hope. That's the one thing that I had none of. I had no hope. Prior to March 14, 2012, I had no hope. And that was just lies. That was all the lies that I was telling myself. So, we'll see what's going to happen. I have had people step forward to sponsor shows because, my agreement when I sat down and had a conversation with God about this, because my lady taught me to ask God before I do anything of substance, really anything. But my agreement with God was I want to try to keep my pride out of this. I want to keep my pride out. This is not about me. This is not about me.
Right.
This is about reaching the people and the loved ones. I want to have family members on here of alcoholics and addicts that, have gone into recovery with their loved ones and what their experiences were, and give them a voice. But my agreement with God was I wasn't going to pay for a single thing. And so far, and I don't know where I got 25 episodes from. I just pulled that out of my butt basically and just said, okay, I'll agree to do 25. Let's see what happens. And all but 8 of them now are paid for.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep coming back to this right here. I'm gonna keep coming back and hopefully, no, it's not hopefully. God's gonna use this in such a way that He's gonna reach that person who's still suffering. And there is hope. On Facebook, there is a Facebook page, Purpose Driven Sobriety. Visit that. There's a private group that you can request to be a member of. My name is Christine Cohen, Koehn. Look me up on Facebook and follow. And Miss Jennifer, I cherish you.
I cherish you too.
I love you. You are my sister. Forever. You are pretty much stuck with me. So I do look forward to having you back to tell your experience, strength, and hope.
I'll pray about that.
No, well, yeah, you don't. Yeah, we're gonna get you schedules and stuff
I
around.
feel the same about you, Christine, and I feel fortunate I get to walk this walk with you, and I really do rely on your guidance, your friendship, your sobriety. It motivates me and inspires me. It really does.
Thank you for that. Thank you for listening to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Keep coming back. Thanks for listening to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Keep coming back.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.